Hello, friends. I am Rose. Welcome to Story with Blue Lady, where we bring you stories full of wonder and excitement. Let's get started. Today's story is Clever Crab and Wicked Heron. Once upon a time, near a vast and peaceful lake, there lived a wise and cunning heron. For years, this heron had been the undisputed ruler of the lake's skies and waters, gracefully swooping down to catch fish whenever he pleased. With his sharp beak and swift wings, he would snatch up his meals effortlessly. But time, as it does to all creatures, had begun to wear down the heron's once vibrant strength. His wings, though still capable of flight, were slower, and his once sharp beak lacked the speed it once had. As age crept upon him, the heron found it harder and harder to catch the fish that once filled his belly. Days turned into weeks, and the heron grew weaker with hunger, often sitting by the lake's edge, staring into the water, unable to catch a single fish. "I can't go on like this," thought the heron one day, his body weak and frail from hunger. "If I don't think of something soon, I will surely die. But what can I do? I'm too old and weak to hunt like I used to." The heron spent hours thinking, his mind churning with plans and ideas, until finally, a clever, wicked scheme came to him. "I may not be able to catch fish anymore," he thought with a sly grin, "but I can certainly outsmart them." The next morning, the heron perched himself at the lake's edge, but instead of hunting, he sat still, his head lowered as if in deep sorrow. His once sharp eyes were now filled with a look of melancholy, and his usual graceful posture was slouched in despair. This unusual behavior did not go unnoticed by the other creatures living in the lake. Among them was a thoughtful and curious crab who had long been friendly with the heron. The crab often admired the heron's wisdom and grace, and seeing him in such a depressed state concerned him. As the crab scuttled by the lake, he paused when he noticed the heron looking so sorrowful. "Friend heron, why do you look so sad?" the crab asked, his voice full of concern. The heron sighed deeply, pretending to be in great distress. "Ah, my dear friend crab, you would not understand the weight of the news I carry. It is too terrible to even speak of," the heron said, his voice trembling with feigned sadness. "What is it?" asked the crab anxiously, now even more concerned. "Please, tell me. Perhaps I can help." With another deep sigh, the heron began to spin his tale. "This morning, as I flew to the lake, I passed by an astrologer sitting under a tree. He was speaking of dark times ahead, times of great drought and suffering. He said that the rains will not come to this land for the next 12 years. This lake, our home, will dry up, and all of us who depend on its waters will perish." The crab was shocked by this news. 12 years without rain. "But that would mean..." "Yes," the heron interrupted, nodding gravely. "It means that every fish, every creature in this lake, will die. The lake will dry up, and there will be nothing left but dust and bones. I am old, and perhaps my time has come, but you, my friend, and the young fish, there is still so much life ahead of you. It breaks my heart to think of what is to come." The crab, now filled with panic, rushed to tell the fish what the heron had said. The fish gathered in a frenzy, their fins flapping in fear, their scales shimmering with anxiety. "What will we do?" they cried. "The lake will dry up, and we will all die. We cannot survive without water." The crab, still shaken by the heron's story, offered the only hope he could think of. The heron said there is a much larger lake some distance from here. Perhaps he could take us there one by one. It might be our only chance. The fish, desperate to survive, quickly agreed. "Yes, yes, let the heron take us. He knows the skies and the lands. He can save us." The next morning, the heron arrived at the lake and found the fish waiting for him. "Please, heron," they pleaded, "take us to the larger lake. We trust you." The heron, hiding his wicked glee, nodded solemnly. "I will do what I can to help. Climb into my beak, and I will carry you to safety." One by one, the heron would pick up a fish, holding it gently between his long beak, and fly off into the sky. But instead of taking them to another lake, he would fly to a nearby rocky cliff, where he would devour the fish in peace. After feasting, he would rest on the rocks, his belly full, and then return to the lake by evening, pretending to be exhausted from his journey. Days went by, and the fish continued to trust the heron. They believed that their friends had found safety in the faraway lake, unaware that they had been eaten. The heron, pleased with his cunning, grew fatter and stronger with each passing day. Then, one day, the crab approached the heron. "You have been kind to take the fish to safety, my friend," the crab said. "Now, will you take me to the new lake as well? I too must find refuge from the coming drought." The heron, who had grown tired of fish, thought to himself, crab meat would be a delightful change. But the crab was much larger and heavier than a fish, and the heron knew he could not carry him in his beak. "Climb onto my back, dear crab," the heron said with a sly smile. "I will fly you to the larger lake." The crab, trusting the heron, crawled onto his back and gripped the feathers tightly with his claws. Together, they soared into the sky, the lake growing smaller beneath them. As they flew, the crab began to notice something strange. They were not flying in the direction of any lake. Instead, the heron seemed to be heading towards the distant cliffs. "How much further is the lake?" the crab asked, a hint of suspicion creeping into his voice. The heron laughed wickedly. "You fool! There is no lake. I am going to dash you against those rocks below and eat you, just like I ate all the fish." The crab's heart pounded with fear, but he quickly realized what he had to do. "Not if I can help it," he thought. With all his strength, the crab tightened his grip on the heron's neck with his powerful claws, squeezing harder and harder until the heron struggled to breathe. The heron, gasping for air, tried to shake the crab off, but the crab's grip was too strong. "Let me go," the heron croaked, flapping his wings in a panic, but the crab held firm. "You deceived and killed the innocent fish," the crab hissed. "Now you will pay the price for your wickedness." With one final squeeze, the crab snapped the heron's neck, and the heron fell from the sky, lifeless, crashing into the rocks below. The clever crab, now safe, crawled down from the heron's back and made his way back to the lake. There, he told the remaining creatures what had happened. "The heron was not our friend," the crab said. "He was a deceiver, and he paid the price for his greed." From that day on, the creatures of the lake lived in peace, forever grateful to the clever crab who had outwitted the wicked heron. And as for the heron, his tale became a lesson to all who heard it. Those who live by deceit will eventually meet their downfall. Be sure to like, share, and subscribe to stay connected with more magical adventures. Until next time.